Mary Cook. I'm going to read for you today Chrono Nogatha by Bob Cook. I'm going to read chapter 1. And it's titled, What Falls Down? What do you think it is? Nicolate asked, pointing in the direction of the blue glow. I still don't know, girl, but we're about to find out, Kina said as he smacked her on the butt. Hand in hand they walked cautiously to the dim light, not wanting to stumble into another pack of angry rodents. They scanned the dark wood line as they proceeded. Up ahead, there were several little trees growing around a small cave. If it wasn't for the faint blue light emitting from the entrance, it would have been completely hidden. Oh, cool! It's a hole, about as big around as a manhole cover, Kina said as he jogged up ahead to examine the source of the blue glow. No, it's a cave, Nicolate corrected, as she poked her head inside. I'm going to go check it out, Kina said. Nicolate knew if he checked it out, he was going to be gone for a long time. She didn't want to be left out there all alone while he went on some adventure. Honey, Nicolate whispered as she took his hand. Without warning, she yanked him toward her outstretched foot as hard as she could. Not if I go first, she yelled as Kina tripped. Probably not the best idea to attempt a graceful maneuver over terrain consisting of mud, vines, and entangled roots. Nicolate tripped over one of the many large roots and tumbled face first into the dark cave. Closing her eyes as she fell, the thin tangles of roots tickled her face as it passed through their web. Unfortunately for her, there was also a large root mixed in with the small. She cringed as she felt the dried-out root cut a deep gash down her left cheek. Her fall was stopped in an instant from a tug on her foot. She tried to open her eyes, but could only open one due to the amount of blood running down her face. The cave looked like a filthy water slide, a very steep and muddy slide. Kina, it's not a hole. Pull me up, please, she pleaded as she felt her shoe begin to slip off. Thankfully, it had gotten caught between two large roots on the way down. Now, Keenis didn't have the best hearing and often misunderstood what other people said. It wasn't his fault. After all, he was in the United States Army Infantry for 12 years. Lots of explosions and gunfire eliminated over half of his ability to understand what people were saying. That was most likely one of those moments. He was sure Nicolate just called him a penis and said, "You a-hole is full of butt cheese." Try to say that without laughing. Standing up, dusting his pants off, knowing full well what happened to Nicolate was her own fault, he thought it would be funny to free up her foot and let her fall into the butt cheese. Whatever that was. He figured if it was dangerous, Nicolate would have simply asked him to pull her up. He bent over and untied Nicolate's shoe. Immediately her foot slid out, and she fell screaming into the cave. "Nicolate!" Keenis yelled. Reacting on instinct, he dove forward, reaching through the cave entrance for his wife. She was nowhere to be seen. In fact, all he could make out was a muddy slide and some sort of luminescent fungi growing on the ceiling. As he slid face first downward, he tried yelling for his wife, but the combination of a bumpy ride and a mouth full of mud, bugs, and strange fungus made it difficult to do anything other than puke. Keenis struggled to turn around. He felt his stomach filling up with the nauseating soup. Every time he threw it up, it would flow back into his mouth. The only thing that made it bearable was that he knew Nicolate was experiencing the same unpleasant ride, and it was all his fault. The only way he could think to spin his big body around in the small confines was to shift his weight in such a way that physics would do the rest. Legs left, arms right, he thought as he pressed his shoulder against the right side of the cave. How long is this ride going to last, he wondered. Victory! He spun around, was now free to vomit profusely. He noticed that the oral expulsion of the mud was much worse than the consuming process. To add to his discomfort, He also now had several dead rats bouncing around his head. Arg! Stupid pepper spray covered rats, Keenis yelled out. Keenis, Nicolate cried out, sounding much closer than he would have imagined. Nicolate, Keenis shouted. Are you okay? Yeah, this is kind of fun. If we don't die, we should do this again sometime, she said, trying to sound funny, but clearly terrified. It feels like we have been sliding down this hole forever. I can't imagine how we are going to get back up. I bet this is how. A turd feels after someone chugs some laxative. Would you like to crawl around in his head for a little while? Keenis thought, laughing at the mental image. Hey, Nicolate, he yelled. Yeah, she replied, sounding even closer than before. I just thought of something. We are like giant turds sinking down a colon after someone chugged a bottle of extra-strength laxative, Keenis said, laughing at his own observation. Ha ha ha, that's hilarious, Nicolate replied, nearing hysteria. Ouch, she screamed. What happened, Nicola? Ouch! Oh, the end of the ride, Keenis said to poor Nicolate, who was once again his soft cushion. As he stood, Nicolate's shoe tumbled out of the cave and knocked her on the back of the head. I don't know about you, but these falls seem to be quite comfortable for me. Not funny. Get off me. You're definitely going on a diet when we get home, Nicolate said, her guise void of all humor. She reached down and picked up her shoe and slid it back on, cringing at the disgusting inside slime squeezed between her toes inside her sock. Holy crap, Nicolate, your face, Keenis said as he helped her up. It's covered in blood. Please don't tell me that's my fault, he said, concerned and worried, lacing his voice. No, it happened when I fell into the cave. Everything else that happened before or after that was your fault, she said, pushing him away. Attempting to help her feel better, Keenis got a brilliant idea to kiss her boo-boo. Ouch! Nicolate screamed. Pepper spray in an open wound. Oops, my bad. Hey, wait a minute. How come your face is so clean? I spent half of that ride eating mud pies, and the other half throwing them up, Keenis asked, baffled. I flipped over as soon as I fell in. Did you go face first? Ew, and you kissed my cut? Now I'm going to have to tourniquet my face, she giggled, brushing some of the mud off her pants. She put her hands on her hips and looked around. Would you look at that? It's like some sort of underground trail. Wow, I can't even see the ceiling. Good thing we didn't fall from up there. Well, looks like we have no choice but to investigate, Keenis said as he bent over to pick up his rat stick. Keenis, seriously, we are not eating those, Nicolate said, making gagging noises. You don't have to eat them. More for me. Let's get going. Do you by any chance have a plastic bag in your purse? No, sorry, I don't have my purse. I didn't think I would need it. I guess the next time that I pass out and wake up in a scary movie, I'll bring it with me, Nicolate said. Not a scary movie, silly wife. It's a scary painting, remember? Keenis corrected. Whatever, she sighed, rolling her eyes. Would you look at this place, Keenis said as he scraped some of the glowing fungus from the walls with his stick. Wish I had a bag to put this in. Staring at his wife, smiling as he spoke. Completely ignoring him, Nicolate walked ahead, down a path large enough for a bus to drive through. This place is huge. I wonder how far it goes down, she said as she ran her hand across the rough stone walls. No longer were they surrounded by rancid mud. What a relief. All jokes aside, I can't think of anyone else I would rather be trapped down here with. I feel like no matter what happens, we will be fine. Is that crazy? Nicolate asked. Yes, it is. We are going to be more than okay. As soon as we get out of here, we are going to be rich. Best slide ever. Do you know how much people will pay to ride down a slide like this? A little bit more work and it... Oh my, look, Nicolate said, frozen in awe, pointing up. They both stood motionless, mouths wide open, frozen in amazement as they stared at the high ceiling. It was not made from stone or mud or even glowing fungus. They saw stars. They saw a strange planet, not like any they had ever seen. Keenis loved astronomy and knew all of the planets. This one was purple, blue, and green. It had a large moon orbiting very close. I think I ate too much of the glowing fungus, Nicolate. Based on what I'm seeing, we should be dead and sucked into the vacuum of space. I see it too. We are so high right now. Get it? Because we are looking down on a planet, Nicolate said with a satisfied look on her face. Nice, that was quick. Bonus points, Kina said, giving her a high five. So we are not dead, and we can't be having the same hallucination. Logically, there is only one thing left to do. Race to the end of the path, Keenis yelled as he took off, giving himself a much-needed head start. His beautiful wife was 21 years young, and he was a good 12 years her senior. Cheater, Nicolate screamed as she started a blazing sprint after him. It didn't take long for her to catch up, and as she flew past, Keenis knew. She noticed he was turning bright red. Hacks! Cheat codes, Keenis said between gasps, so out of shape. After Keenis finally caught up to Nicolate, who was peeking around the corner of a large stone building, he greeted her with a poke in the ribs. Glaring back at him, she put her finger to his lips. Shush! Look, she whispered as she pointed ahead. Around the corner was a colossal statue of a kneeling dragon. The size was absurd. From the ground to the top of its toe was about 2 stories high. If one of its teeth could be plucked from its mouth, it would be half the length of a football field. Surrounding it was a small town of old stone-crafted buildings. Each looked as if it were taken from ancient Rome. Keenis and Nicolate looked around in awe. There was no doubt they had the same thoughts swimming around in their heads, wondering where they were and how they were going to get home. Impressive city, but where are all the people? Keenis wondered. All the buildings are in mint condition. Running a finger over a windowsill to his right, no dust. As far as I can tell, there isn't a single stone out of place. The bushes are all nicely trimmed, but by who? Nicolate disregarded all caution, meandering away from the corner she and Keenis hid behind. Keenis, look at that waterfall. It's not moving, Keenis said. A few hundred yards ahead was a small waterfall flowing between 2 buildings. It was in a static state, as if it were frozen in time. Keenis jogged over to it, leaving Nicolate behind. Keenis, what are you doing? Nicolate asked in a loud whisper. I have to see it up close, he shouted over his shoulder. I have to know what it is. In the small stream that led away from the waterfall were several stones dotting the surface of the river. Each looked to be floating atop the surface of water to form a path to the shore. Keenis bounded across the stone path toward the motionless waterfall. He could feel the mist on his face as he passed through each suspended droplet. He ran his hand through the water. It moved as water should, but didn't fall. It was as if everything was frozen in time except him and Nicolate. He swirled his hand around, making awesome circular swirling patterns in the water, as if it were a Zen garden. That's beautiful, Nicolate said, running to him from around the corner where she had previously chosen to remain hidden. She paid no attention to the stones in the stream and skipped right across the surface of the water. Playing with the physics of the strange substance, she stopped a few times to slowly sink. As long as she kept moving forward, the river's surface felt as solid as a sandpit. Keenis pulled her into his arms and looked into her eyes. They both balanced on a stone no bigger around than a dinner plate. As crazy as the place was around him, it was the most romantic place they'd ever been. Theirs was a life of constant motion, work, school, study, sleep. Aside from pillow talk, they never even considered taking time out of their busy lives for vacation. Nicolette licked her thumb and rubbed it across a smudge on Kina's cheek. Too bad we can't wash off that dirty face of yours. All of this water and no properly working time-space to clean with, Nicolette said, proud of herself, understanding of what she thought was going on. Yeah, too bad, Keenis whispered, their faces only inches apart. Canting his head, he moved his mouth so close to hers that he could feel her every breath as if it were his own. Keenis pulled her warm body even closer to his, caressing his hand down her back and gently closing the gap between their lips. "What are you doing?" a man shouted, his deep voice booming out from above them. They both looked up with a start. Above the waterfall was a tall man wearing a full set of ornate plate mail armor. He held in his hands a shield and a long sword. The shield was a blue kite shield, and his sword was a massive long sword, almost as long as Nicolette was tall. Keenis muttered. "Silence!" the man shouted, interrupting Keenis. "You dare come here without permission and disturb our time lock? Be gone!" The mysterious man shouted as he thrust his sword into the water, causing a canyon to form. It split and spread down the length of the waterfall, all the way down to where Keenis and Nicolette stood in shock. "Cookie has spoken. Goodbye," the man yelled as he waved. "Wait, your name is Cookie?" Keenis asked with a smirk on his face. The man did not answer, nor care to entertain Keenis' questions. He simply turned and walked away. "Keenis!" Nicolette yelled in a panicked voice. His eyes bulged in panicked apprehension as he turned to notice Nicolette hanging by her fingertips from the other half of the stone she once stood upon. About 50 feet below her was a river of lava. Cookie had split the surface and river clean in half, like the Grand Canyon. Because of the time lock, it stayed that way. Keenis and Nicolette were separated by a 5-foot gap. There was no way he could jump to her from his small perch. Even if he could, there was a chance that he would land on her fingertips and send her plummeting to her death in the lava swirls far below. "I'm slipping," Nicolette yelled, tears pouring down her cheeks. "Hang on! I won't let anything happen to you," Keenis shouted as he struggled to remain strong. "Grab my staff," he said as he dangled the rat stick over to his wife. "No, it's gross," Nicolette said, attempting to pull herself up. "Please just grab it. It's going to be okay. You can wash your hands later." "I'm slipping," Nicolette cried, trembling so hard it was a wonder she was able to hold on at all. "Trust me, I won't let you fall," Keenis shouted, fighting back tears. "I trust you," Nicolette said in a suddenly calm voice. She reached for the stick. Snap! The branch broke. Nicolette was falling. She was crying and screaming. "I love you, Keenis," she shouted as she fell toward a swirling pool of lava. "Nicolette, I love..." She was gone in a puff of smoke, leaving behind only a small plume of fire. "I love you too, Nicolette," Keenis whispered as he squatted down. He was no longer able to fight back the tears. With arms hugging his legs, he teetered forward. He tumbled off the edge of the canyon, feeling like he was falling in slow motion, closing his eyes to play back the memory of the first time he met his wife. He could feel the heat rising all around him. Nicolette, her smile, it was so innocent. He introduced her to his mom and dad and knew they wondered how their son ended up with such a beautiful woman. He thought back to when his daughter Lynn was born. Who would take care of her? Forgive me. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 1. Stay tuned for chapter 2.